So, again, welcome to Conversations in American Democracy. Actually, we thought about next week taking a cruise in the waters off Venezuela and seeing how that goes, but there are people who have some second thoughts. So go ahead, Curt, you don't have to raise your hand.
That area, where they blow those guys up, I have fished that area. There's lots of fish. There's an upwelling there, and you can catch.
Yeah, okay.
God, and that's what they were doing. Why would you ever put 11 men in a boat that size?
Yeah.
We could be carrying much.
By the way, and we'll get to it, but why would you kill them rather than use the Coast Guard? That's just what the Coast Guard is for, to pick them up. They're all intelligence assets. They could all be questioned. Where did they get there, and so on and so forth. But it's machismo. You know what? I've been reluctant to say it out loud, and I shouldn't say it when it's recorded. But we are led by people with small penises, and they are trying to exert their manhood, their machismo, their whatever, their macho, and blow them out of the water.
So and I always thought Trump was a big dick. You're telling me he's a little dick?
He is.
But they're too scared to ride a Harley.
Everywhere else.
Now we've gone south on that.
I thought we were PG, but maybe we're not PG.
Am I going to have to bleep?
Yes, you better bleep it off. So, well, let's start. Curt, this Constitution Minute. Mike Leiberger sends his regrets that he couldn't be here, and it says also he's run out of we've had all the questions on the citizenship test, but I think we ought to revisit it from time to time and become familiar with it. Anyway.
And that was the old one, so we should visit the new one.
Yeah,
at some point.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to him about that. So, Curt, what amendment?
Okay, this is a big one. This is Amendment 12. This has to do with electors, and it was ratified 6/15/1804. Who was president?
Andrew Jackson?
No, Thomas Jefferson.
Come on, Thomas Jefferson.
1803 was like Louisiana Purchase. That's Jefferson.
Jefferson beat Adams in 1801 or 2, right? Everybody know that?
I didn't
Now
vote.
we do.
And he beat him because of why? Why did he beat him?
I don't know.
By the way-
I didn't vote for him.
He beat him because of
You voted for the
sedition.
other guy.
I voted for the other guy.
He was only 15 at the time, so I wasn't.
I ought to go back to Reagan.
By the way, but it's an important issue that confronts us today. Because what was the issue? Federalism versus Democrat.
Yeah.
If either Jefferson is listed as the first Democrat or the ancestor of the Democratic Party. But the Federalists wanted a strong central government. Or is it back? Yes. No, I don't remember. It's strong central.
Hamiltonians.
And Hamiltonians, and then the Democrat Jefferson's party wanted weak. No, it's the other way around, I think. Wanted strong central, and the Federalists wanted less. But the issue of, again, states' rights and who can determine what, and can the federal government send troops into the cities of our country, and so on. Anyway, that's not. Go ahead, Curt.
All right, so this is Amendment 12. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. They shall, in their ballots, the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballot for the person voted for as vice president. And they shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for president and all persons voted for a vice president, and the number of votes for each, which lists they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of the government in the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. I have to make generally what happened here was in the presidential election, the most votes went to the president, and the second in command became the vice president, or the second in votes.
Originally, yeah.
And that is a very famous guy who became vice president under Jefferson. Does anybody know his name? He's the one who shot He's the one who.
Aaron Burr.
Aaron Burr.
Aaron Burr.
Yeah, and he's the one who shot,
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Weehawken, New Jersey.
They really insulted
Been
each
there.
other. If
Yeah.
you've never read that, any of those back and forth, well, because it's all with Hamilton now, they really insulted each other. And it seemed like the only thing they could do was to shoot each other. Oh, God.
Well, Hamilton's defense, he shot up in the air. He shot in the air. But,
He pulled the shot.
But, yeah. So, that's it. That's okay,
No, it's much more
because
than that.
because you have something related to that's going to impinge on Pence and January 6th. Go.
Right. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all certificates, and the vote shall be then counted. And that was what he did on that day.
January 6th.
Pence. The persons having greatest number of votes for president shall be president if such Constitution of the United States shall be the president if such, I don't know what the hell, that's not me. And it shall be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if no persons have such majority, then from the persons having the highest number, not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, the House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot. This is what Trump was also aiming for, was to get it thrown into the House of
Yes.
Representatives. Okay. All right. And if the House of Representatives shall not choose a president, whenever the right of choice shall devolve upon them before the 4th day of March next following, then the Vice President shall act as President, as in the case of the death or other constitutional disability of the President. The person having the greatest number of votes as Vice President shall be the Vice President. If such a number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if no person have a majority, then from the 2 highest numbers on the list, the Senate shall choose the Vice President. A quorum for the purpose shall consist of 2/3 of the whole number of senators, and a majority of the whole number shall be necessary to a choice. But no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of President shall be eligible to that of Vice President of the United States. And there you go.
Mm-hmm. So, several things. March 4th
Yeah.
was the day on which the president took office.
Yeah.
Up until Franklin Roosevelt. After Roosevelt, it was changed to what we have now, January 20th. Yeah.
Right.
And there was something else, but all right, not so important. But yeah, we had this. The electors establishes the Electoral College.
Right.
And so it's in there in the Constitution. As much as we'd like to do away with it, that's the way it works. And so Wyoming is the least populous state, I believe, and it gets still 3 electors, 1 for each senator and 1 for the member of the House of Representatives. And that means they have an elector in a presidential election, 1 for every 150,000 votes, and we get 1 for every like 400 or 500,000. It's not exactly 1 person, 1 vote, but that's what we're stuck with. Anyway, thank you. So,
There should only be 1 Dakota.
yeah, well, okay, maybe even only 1 Carolina. Yeah. Anyway, Mark Webb, what's going on in our city council?
Well, I attended the city council last night. They only have 1 more meeting through the end of the year. Couple of interesting things. They moved forward on the chickens. Now, remember that at one side of the conversation is that the citizens of Palm Coast moved here knowing that the city was a modified city of an HOA concept with rules and restrictions and governances of how we live. This city council has added chickens, has removed restrictions of paint colors, mostly, has also allowed businesses and trucks of some size, none of which can they figure out exactly how to measure these guys. So the city itself's moving in a certain direction, which a lot of people are not happy about it that have moved here and retired. Another thing was, if you're a pet owner, they raised the licensing, and yes, the city of Palm Coast has a mandatory city license, annual license for cats and dogs, and it's a follow-up to the mandatory rabies vaccinations that the state requires, and they've raised it from $5 to $25. So clearly they're trying to find money to pay for our new city manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the money that's collected through the licensing doesn't go to support the Humane Society, it goes in the general fund. Hence the general fund pays for salaries, and they came close to approving the contract with the new city manager, and clearly it's not a bad job to get. With a flat rate of $225,000 plus a plethora of benefits, including the city, if, as it stands right now, and there were some suggested changes, would actually pay for his health care premiums monthly. Sounds like a pretty good deal, huh?
Yeah, but we're missing part of it, but okay.
Well, but the point is, there's still, I don't want to go into firm because there were still a lot of questions. Initially, his contract required that he be compensated above and beyond for any time the city was in an emergency, like a storm or something, that he would get his fixed rate, and it's like $108 an hour, time and a half for him to be available above and beyond that. But they struck that. So they have not, he has not accepted the position yet. Still in negotiations. And as always, at the very last moment, out of nowhere, Representative Charles, he comes up and says he thinks he wants to change the allowance for properties to allow a split home, as in not a side-by-side, but actually separated home, so that we can start to attract and bring in more low-income people, which is not something they're able to do, but he's convinced. Now remember, he's running for Congress, and he's starting to say that. So it's online. All the meetings are now online. So if you want to see Mark and Donna and all the other people represented, yeah, they're gonna video every meeting. Not your pension. I think that's a different thing. And they're available.
Well, if we are on the dais, we will be recorded, I'm told.
Yes,
But the Residential Drainage Committee that I'm chairman of.
it was on. It was just
Yeah,
video.
The next meeting is sometime in February.
Right.
And, well, no, there's one in January, there's one in February. And we are gonna try to sunset that thing.
Because it's
because
due for sunset
It's
after
due-
Yeah.
February.
It's due for
Exactly.
sunsetting in February, but we're gonna try to get rid of it, because we have nothing to do. So our next couple
Sure.
of meetings are being gavel in and gavel out.
Right. But it is important, I found, that sitting there pulling it up on YouTube and watching the ordinance conversations, compliance, the PRB, there's a plethora of committees that are being shown that you can sit and watch it happen.
So they're gonna, so even the planning board gets video too?
Yep.
Everything goes
At
out.
the planning board. And I saw Ray at the council, at the county commissioners meeting, and that was interesting. And
Always.
I would love to know more about how they think public transportation isn't applied to all of us, which is, I was screaming at the TV because they're doing that at the city level too. And what I'm talking about is, everybody sees the small buses. Well, those are only for disabled and senior people that have been approved and vetted. So you have to apply, you have to get approved, and then I'm told by people that use it, it could take up to a week to make an appointment to schedule to be picked up on a day you need, of which none of that is actually being shared at all by the politicians that we have here. So anyway, again, participate, be involved. We're gonna start really hitting it hard with the electors that are coming up next year to get people to be aware. As I said at the meeting, and I'll say it now, we have the last say as voters in what happens if we choose to. If we choose to vote and speak up. It was interesting that several of the council members were sharing the rumor of what the charters committee was working on, and they were adamant that none of those things are ever going to get by them. And I'm kind of laughing at this whole process. So be there.
When is the
Thank
next
you.
meeting?
Not next Tuesday, that was canceled the following Tuesday.
So 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah.
But you know, they're missing the boat. You mentioned the vehicles being parked in driveways. And Donna and I both stood up and told the city council, why don't you get a sticker and charge an annual fee?
Right.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
For them, and because they need money, because Palm Coast is not very wealthy. It's broke. But, they could have charged something. They could have made some money on it, and these people would have been happy to pay it.
Well, they're gonna have to do that, Mark, eventually, because the inspectors, when they drive around and they see a vehicle,
Need a means.
are not gonna be allowed to walk onto your property and
Right.
measure your height and width and length, which is part of what the ordinance requires. So it is unenforceable. And so by having
Having a permit
a
on your
permit
windshield,
on
right.
your, that
Facing
would
the
say, I
street.
drive it over, I have them look at it, they get it approved. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it makes money for the city.
But this city council we have right now is so inept. Anyway.
Think.
Saying that as if we came in.
Um,
By the way, city managers, I think that's a nice package. On the other hand, they are subject to dismissal without cause and 24 hours notice. So that's the plus and minus. To get somebody to work under those conditions, you have to pay substantially more. And again, it's the law of supply and demand. Good city managers are hard to find and demand more money.
Is that next
yeah.
meeting in the evening? Okay.
Sue, you want to talk about the marijuana initiative? Or
I did a little bit of research. You guys were a little bit late coming in. Apparently, there were upwards of 200,000 signatures that were thrown out on a technicality. I don't completely understand the logistics of the technicality, but it has something to do with the formatting, I believe, of the petition, which is why I sent the card around thinking maybe I'm the only one that got this card. Maybe mine was one of the signatures that was thrown out. I don't know. But I sent the card around to let everybody know that I'm going to go ahead and download the whole petition. That was one of the issues. It had something to do with the formatting, something to do with the number of pages. So the card clearly says you have to print all 5 pages of it and give all 5 pages. I'll look further into where I'm supposed to submit it. But apparently, I believe it happened, the purging happened at each local supervisor of elections offices. So anybody out there, the name of the group that's spearheading this is Smart and Safe Florida. Our fearless leader believes that has something to do with Mr. Morgan over in Orlando.
Morgan.
Awesome. So Smart and Safe Florida, you can Google it and get your 5 pages and sign them. And yes, they're going to go to the county supervisor.
Every
Go ahead.
petition, every signature?
No,
Every signature requires 5 pages?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
the petition
Yeah.
rules now are,
Crazy.
you have to
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
sign that you're a legal resident, it has to be verified. It is so blatantly designed to reduce
Yes.
the ability to even generate petitions. The goal of the state, after the last drama with the abortion and was the Constitution of the state of Florida mandated that there be a process for citizens to put amendments for vote. So they couldn't stop it altogether, though they wanted to. So now they made it so difficult with raising it to 60% and making the petitions, and that's filtered down to the candidates as well.
That's a lot of
I mean,
Yes.
anything that has multiple pages in this day and age, you have to think, why? Everything is going that
Yeah, it's like-
opposite direction, but this is like 5 pages, not even just 1 page. Come on, save a tree.
Blaine, what were you saying?
When I was going into the Ponte Vedra concert hall, they had people outside having you sign the petition, but they said, oh, it's quick. So how would 5 pages be quick? They said, this will only take 2 seconds, and they were out with clipboards, and people were just signing. So
And that was this year.
last Friday.
Because
Yeah,
what
I don't
they're
know when
doing
the
is
ruling
they're
came
Marijuana
down.
initiative.
taking the document you signed and attaching it to the
The
other
five-
pages
5 pages.
and submitting it, and those will probably be kicked
By the
out.
way, thrown out.
And they
Yeah.
didn't, they, apparently, I'm sorry,
No, go
apparently
ahead.
they
No,
need,
no, no.
over 800,000, I wanna say it's 880, but they're only looking for 200. So that tells me not all of them were thrown out, and they're just trying to recoup, whatever potentially could have been,
So the marijuana was on our last ballot as Amendment 3, I believe.
Yes.
And the abortion issue was Amendment 4.
Yes.
So it's well known, but don't take my word for it, look this up yourself, that DeSantis used government money, our tax dollars, to
To fight it.
defeat both the abortion amendment and the marijuana amendment. So you're paying to defeat this amendment. So there are 2 reasons to vote to sign this. One is for marijuana, the other is just to say.
Stick it to
you're gonna-
DeSantis.
Yeah, stick it to the man.
To the man.
You want to stand up and say this business of limiting the ability of citizens to begin initiatives is not gonna fly with us. And I would suggest that's the case. Any other local or state issues? Then obviously.
Ray, did you get anything from the meeting with the county commissioners on Monday?
The only thing I can,
You were sitting there very lonely for a while.
I know, sometimes I'm up there by myself.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just listened and, I'm listening because I want to learn, so if I do get elected, I'm prepared to understand what's going on. Again, but then I got the whole year, Greg still has a whole, year to do his part. But, yeah, we'll see how it flows, but, yeah, I didn't want to shake my head, I didn't want to make any, and I didn't go up there and speak on anything.
No.
Really, because it's still in the process, nothing's really formal, so it isn't really a final vote on anything.
I have a question,
Yes.
and it pertains to your run for county commission. I don't really understand, it seems like I read somebody at some point in time, they were like a nobody, and they just flooded their neighborhood with their name, with signs with their name on it, and they ended up winning by name recognition only, because they started really, really early, like a year or a year and a half before. Is that something that we could do for you? I mean, I live in a great location where I could put up a sign, but one, residence is not gonna cut it. What are the restrictions around putting your name up
You
or
can-
plastering your name all over the county?
I was gonna ask people to, for me, to highlight independent voters. Right now, we have around 24,000 independent voters. So, and I reached a couple of them, and of course, they wanna talk to me, and I'm gonna try to get petitions signed, but they're excited that I'm running. And then, you know, I started to go over to the Republican side and talk to them, you know, and see if I could get some of those voters, because I think there's some discouraged voters on that side, you know.
I'm kind of going in the vein of name recognition on
Yeah.
signs all around town.
It's, I'll get back to you, because the
I
way
know you
I
wanna do
understand it,
everything
yeah, the way I understand
T.
it would be, you would be almost like a committee that I would have to register with you with through my campaign. So it's very thin line what you can do. And I'm still learning. I mean, I don't have the money to hire a campaign manager.
I just
I'm,
love that
you know,
idea
state
that a complete
statutes.
unknown ended up getting
coordinated-
elected just because they
Yeah.
put up a ton of signs.
But I see where you're going with that, and that's what I was thinking about, just trying
Sooner the better.
just to try to bring awareness, independent, you know, vote independent, like,
Money
you know,
talks.
about the shop local. You know what I mean? If we just put out there, vote independent, you know, for county commission, that would help me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we're
And it
28
would have to
days
have a name,
from
because
2026.
I would be the only independent running, you know, at the time, unless somebody else throws their hat in, you know.
Have you made coordination to get signs?
I haven't gotten to that point, because I'm still going through the process and trying to get, like, I had a banking issue, and I don't want to name the bank, but the banking messed up my checks and stuff, and I'm supposed to have campaign, and then when I went to the election office, they said I could write it in, excuse me, but the problem is if I forget to write it in, I get a fine, okay? Everything's got to be receipt and documented.
Yeah, we've been through that.
Yeah, so
But-
what happened was, then I didn't get my checks, and then I didn't get my debit card. So then I went in, I said, hey, what's going on? It's 3 weeks. You said 7 to 10 days. Well, they never ordered them then. So then it was my chance to reorder. So then when I was getting my check, my 8 checks that they could give you over the counter, I said, you know, because I'm a perfect guy, I said, you know, I don't like the fact that you have campaign only, and it says Raymond, and then it has Royer underneath. Can you put Raymond Royer underneath that, you know, for campaign? And he's like, I'll try. And then he goes, okay, I'm gonna print them. Well, then it comes out the way he had it originally, but then the last 2 were printed the way I want it. And I said, now how's that possible? And then he goes, well, I'll print another page. He prints another page. Same thing, the first 2 were the way I didn't want it. And I go, now how's that possible? He goes, I don't know. So, I can't name the bank.
He needs
you
a
know,
13-year-old. I understand that.
Yeah.
And
And
you should talk to Fernando at Palm Coast Sun.
yeah, and then when I went to
He can make you a good deal.
okay, I'll talk to him then. And then what happened was, when I went to do my loan, you know, my money to switch it over as a loan campaign to myself, what a hassle to do that. I mean, the one branch, you know, by Flagler Beach, by Publix there, the bank manager basically said, you can't do that. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I ended up going to the branch, you know, out this way. And what ended up happening was that branch manager said, no, you can write a check. I said, yeah, I told you. I'm like, why can't I just put a memo, you know, I'm loaning to my campaign, you know? And he goes, yeah, that's all you have to do. And I said, that's what I want to do, not the other branch. So I don't know what's going on. So it's kind of bogging me down, you know? And then of course, when I did that day, I got the news. I was just telling her I got the news about my sister going through getting her skull taken off again because she had a brain tumor the week before, and then they got that out. But then she got an infection in her brain. So then I couldn't even concentrate on my campaign anymore because I'm trying to get everything in order. And so I have a meeting tomorrow with the election office to try to get me back on track because that threw me off. I basically wanted to step away because family comes first for me.
I urge everybody to visit the Flagler County Supervisor of Elections website, click on candidates, and you'll find a candidate rule book you can download as a PDF. I think it's about 70 pages, but the rules are burdensome, but you can see, well, you decide whether there's a rationale for it or not. What I would suggest, by the way, is that you not talk to him because
talk.
coordinating with the candidate is a problem. And you can't put
What
campaign
she's
signs
saying
out
is
every
so
place,
true.
but they can't decide that you have the right to put any
Yes,
sign
I
in
do.
your own yard.
Okay.
And we can
I'll
all
put
put signs in our
it.
yards.
It's a-
Yeah, well, that's, I was just about to say that I live in an HOA, I can't put signs in my
Yeah.
yard.
Some years ago,
But if you want to
this
spread the
gal
name
in
around, for that name recognition purpose, you can do that.
Well,
Yeah.
you're not-
Right
Go
now,
ahead.
to get the name out, social media, Eric Janssen
It's a
is
biggie.
appearing almost daily. So is
Ronnie.
Ronnie.
I'm trying to get back.
Yeah, there are many. And in fact, somebody, in response, someone just posted on social media, and I answered because I was very upset. They said, the election's a long way off. We don't have to do, we should do this instead. And I said, election's not so long way off. And our opponents,
Don't start
have been
on
through
January,
a long way back. You find out that they began a long time ago. Now is the time to begin to think. The primary is August 28th, I think, so don't even think November. A deal will be decided in that August primary. It's not too late. In fact, it's not too late, but it's not too early either, by any means. So last week we talked about the question of whether or not incivility on the national, on the federal level, and at the top is the kind of, what is it, be quiet piggy type of language, influences what goes on here in Palm Coast and here in the county. So now the question is, does lawlessness, like, shooting and killing people who are clinging to a sinking boat to really, otherwise we would all save, killing them or killing anybody the way it's being done, whether that kind of lawlessness encourages the kind of lawlessness we occasionally see in local government. And I'm thinking of what's going on in the education field, that so much voucher money is being taken by individuals or being misappropriated. And there's a new article out about what charter schools, how they're taking money. The charter schools are public schools, but they're run by corporations. The Imagine schools run by a corporation in Chicago, and they own the real estate. There are all sorts of shenanigans going on. So does local lawlessness, is it encouraged by the lawlessness we see on a federal, or is it really two different things?
Well, I think for me, the guardrail of, I don't think this is right, so I shouldn't do it, has been questionably removed at a lot of areas, and it's more of a conversation at all the levels that you're talking about of, until somebody tells me and holds me accountable that I have broken a rule or a law, then I'm not going to worry about it. So the ethics. And I love to point out, and I heard this great, we were talking about going back to the attack on the boats. The conversation you hear today about the multiple attacks was the very first one. And now they're saying there were as many as 4 attempts to attack that. But it's ironic that 4 boats later, there were 2 survivors.
Yeah.
That we in the military went, picked them out of the water, dusted them off, treated them, and released them back to their own country. So in my mind, and it was this great conversation with Brian Tyler Cohen and some others going, the clearest view you can get of a mistake is if you correct it yourself the next time. So think about that. So our military bombed this vessel multiple times, no one's lying, for the sole purpose of killing everybody, and then in their own behind the scenes, through hopefully admirals and others that have some level of empathy, morality, said, no, we can't do that. So the next time that happened, they did what is the right thing by picking up the survivors who were defenseless. And those of us in the military know exactly what that conversation has occurred. You don't take out an indefensible soldier at any level. So that's an interesting concept that we should all look at and realize, look at the big picture of understanding that without any media, without any government, external government, the military corrected its own mistake it did on the first time, and they should own it that way. They should have said, we didn't do it right the first time and we're doing it better.
But even is the bombing the boats even legal as well?
That's
Not
even- that's a
with that
whole nother-
additional caveat.
Right.
Well, the admiral that retired, was prior to the first boat strike?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Well, I don't know.
Was the first strike was
He
September
retired
3rd?
because he was not signing on
To do it.
to do it, and so he retired.
Right.
Well,
And he's the
his
one I
retirement
think
date
should
is-
be interviewed along with other people to see exactly what pressure was put on him prior to him retiring. I mean, it's as plain as day what is going on. It's just,
I don't believe his retirement date has come forward yet. I thought it was in like January.
It has to be approved.
Yeah.
do what?
I thought his
He's
retirement
not
date.
actually retired.
Yeah, it has to be.
But they're throwing him under the bus
Yeah,
now.
they're throwing them.
Oh, no,
No, no,
he's
no,
talking about
this is a
something
separate-
No,
different.
that's not the same one.
This is not,
Yeah.
the first head of Central or Southern Command, or whatever it's
Southern
called.
Command, yeah.
He resigned,
Yeah.
right? And when he resigned, I'm thinking, well, it's a race thing because they're trying to get black people
Right.
out of stuff. And so I attribute it to that.
But-
Mousley, whatever his name is, he probably said, hell no, I'm not gonna do it, right?
Right.
And so he retired. So then Mitch Baby, or whatever his name is, he was okay with it. So he's the one they're throwing under the bus now.
Yeah.
But at least one person, in my mind anyway,
He should have known.
had courage of conviction and some honor, right?
And did he generate the ad that Kelly and other senators, is it because of his resignation that the senators stood up and said, do not follow?
Well, I wonder if that's all tied in,
That's what I don't know.
right? I would love to see that whole timeline and those conversations and who was talking to who, and, I mean, it's there to be mined, right? Somebody needs to mine it.
Curt.
Well, they don't define any of the terms. What is a narco-terrorist?
Yeah,
Well, that's-
Explain it,
yeah,
you know? And as well as a whole bunch of other terms.
yeah.
But they're trying to make them sound as bad as possible, so we can just kill them.
Right, and that's the rationale of calling it that we're being invaded by a caravan of people from Central America. It's an invasion, it's not a,
Just the term, the
Tried and
war
true.
on drugs.
yeah, right, you know, in a
Well,
war.
if it's a war, then he has some justifications for
Yeah.
doing some of the things that he does, but then we have a war on cancer too, and I don't expect the Marines to show up at my hospital anytime soon.
But
So,
the,
go.
Go,
But, you
one
know,
and two.
why isn't the United Nations stepping in here? We're in international waters, down Trinidad,
They did.
Tobago, and,
Yeah.
the UN hasn't said anything.
No,
Oh,
they
they
did.
did.
They
I
did.
can't
When?
even- Yeah, just
Like
the other day.
a couple
Just
weeks,
the other day.
a week ago, they
You
came.
know, but back when Bush, the first Bush was invading Iraq, the UN said, hey, you better stop.
Yeah.
And so we did. But, you know,
Did we?
why are we having military operations down
remember
in
stopping.
Trinidad and Venezuela? That's not our area. We don't even have Coast Guard down there because it's not our territory.
They keep us from talking about Epstein.
Yeah,
By the way,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna-
yeah. But what they're doing is
Look over
illegal.
here while I do
They're
this.
breaking international law.
Yeah, I understand this will come by the International Court of Justice and Criminal Justice, the
We don't-
ICCJ.
But we
We
don't,
don't.
the
Yeah.
United States
We don't
does
We're
not.
not party to it, but that,
Right.
we don't, but other nations will
Right.
bring complaint to them. And if you're not aware, Putin can't travel to certain places because he's subject to arrest.
Yes.
He'll come to the United States, but because he'll be protected by Trumpians. But he's subject to arrest.
But I don't think we should overlook the Supreme Court as being responsible for this lawlessness, right?
Yeah.
I was talking with Jay the other day, and I said, you know, I used to be a Catholic, so I know about this stuff. But if the Catholics on the Supreme Court
And how many
They
are there?
voted.
How many are there?
That,
Yeah.
I don't know, five,
Multiple.
multiple, right?
Yeah.
The ones that voted to give Trump immunity, if they went to communion last Sunday, they should be excommunicated unless they went to confession
Yes.
and confessed to murder, which is a mortal sin. So we should not look at the Supreme Court being a root cause, one of the root causes of the lawlessness that's going on right now, in my opinion.
And back to your timeline too, is we're also hearing that the UK has pulled out with giving intelligence. Because they
Intelligence.
know there's, like I said, as things are coming and going and what's going on with that whole possible illegal act.
Keeping their hands
They're not,
clean.
yeah, they don't want to be blamed, so they're saying we're not giving you the intelligence.
Yeah.
So it's all fallen into place.
Yeah.
But in the opening question of, is it percolating, is it growing? Every day on the news, we see ICE agents going into facilities, going into people's homes, no warrant, no justification,
Masks.
no, they're not even responding, they've got masks on. So, what was it, that young lady that was traveling on an airplane and got pulled off the plane and arrested and got ready to get deported, and they came out and said well over 70% of the people that they have swept up have no major criminal records at all.
To Delane's point about England, though, I think it's important to note that as what you're saying is trickling down from the higher ups into the local areas, it seems that there's also a consciousness that's starting to bubble up that possibly could be countering that.
It would be nice, as a clergy person, it would be nice if morality, and that's what you raise the issue of ethics and morality, that, I often wonder, well, we have the admiral who resigned, do we vote for people by the color of their skin, or do we vote for them by their moral behavior? If we have two identical candidates running for city council, and one seems to be a moral person and one seems to have no relationship with morality, who will win?
Depends on where you are.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, have what?
We know what happened here, so.
Yeah, okay, we know what happened here? Okay.
Yeah, Randy Fine was
Oh,
elected in a special election, and he has no moral compass.
no.
And proudly says,
And even the Republicans.
run those protesters over and shoot those immigrants. I mean,
Well, it's going to be interesting what happens in Minnesota, going after the Somalis. who have been
The
there a
garbage
long
people,
time.
yeah, which
That I think.
is an
could be a
immoral,
real-
calling people garbage is
That could be a real
an immoral
tinderbox,
act in and of itself.
In Minnesota, and that's starting today, I think.
Yeah.
Garbage gets people's attention. Look
Yeah,
at
yeah,
how many of the
yeah,
garbage
sure.
trucks in New York
There are a
City.
lot
And
of
takes
Somalis
their
in
attention from
Minnesota.
Epstein.
Legally.
Yeah.
Right.
I love this one.
So
New
clearly,
New Orleans, I guess they're going after Cajuns, I'm not sure what they're doing in New
I
Orleans.
know this issue is minor compared to everything else that we're talking about here. But everything else that we're talking about here, for the most part, could be argued. Someone could tell you that, well, I'm sure he has legal people that are telling him, yeah, you can do what you're doing. So there's room for argument on a lot of this stuff. I think the argument's very weak on the other side, but there's room for it, and a lot of the MAGAs or the other people can have things to stand on. But this, and once again, this is a minor thing, but it's mind-boggling to me. This guy is the president of the United States of America. He's supposed to be reasonably intelligent. He should be reasonably intelligent. He's also, he'll tell you, an amazing businessman. Well, how can the President of the United States and an amazing businessman stand up at his cabinet meeting, or sit down at his cabinet meeting, and tell you that he has reduced drug prices 800%?
Yeah. And then he says 1,200, 1,500%. What? That's not
Now,
possible.
They're paying you.
And get
I
away with it.
can't believe that people all over the world are hysterical.
They are.
I think that is, I mean, my line would be, how stupid is you?
It's pretty stupid.
They let him get away, his family let him get away with murder. He used to go to children's birthday parties. You ever hear these stories?
Oh, yes, I've heard.
And
some.
he went in and he'd take the birthday cake and turn it upside down.
Right,
So
right.
he made a scene at so many birthday parties, he was banned in the neighborhood from going to birthday
There was
parties.
a guy that went to boarding school with him in
I
high
know
school, and he
that's
had
true,
to
but how-
retell the whole football story so
But how
that
can you
Trump
stand up and
was the
say
hero.
2 + 2 is 5 in front of the world? 2 + 2 is 5. I'm the president of the United States.
So
Trust
it
me
is.
on this. I reduced it 800%, and 2 + 2 is 5. It's the same thing.
It is.
It's the same thing.
He's just
You know,
lying,
But
lying.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Ken.
All right, so to address Mark's and your thing,
Al, that's Al.
Al, excuse me.
We know the
Um,
names, we should the names.
You know, Trump is who he is. He is the boogeyman we see. What had happened goes way back to address why we're where we're at now is somehow our darker sides, our other, just call it our other ego, came out. In the first election, when he first ran, we knew, everybody knew who Trump was before he was elected the very first time. You can be angry and upset and disturbed by what he's doing, but what he's doing and what he's saying and his actions are consistent with who he has always been, how he's always lived, and how he was raised. The thing with race, that was demonstrated when him and his father were sued, and they settled. His attitudes towards women were displayed on mics when we heard him saying, "Boys will be boys."
Grab her.
Grab her, yeah. And our darker side said, but he says he's a winner. And the darker side said, that's what we want. We let our lesser evils get in the ballot box and voted for something they thought they wanted. Now we're trying to get our moral compass back. That's the hard fight we have to, that's going to be the unending turmoil we're going to have in our society for the rest of our life. Because even if we turn this ship around, get some moral, decent individuals, how do you not look back and see what we were?
Well, to what you're saying, I play golf with a lot of people that are very happy with what's going on.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, man. You gotta call it like it is.
because
They
it
don't-
doesn't hurt them.
Yes,
Understand, yeah.
exactly. Well,
It does.
no, they're all in.
They're all in.
in on it.
They're all in,
Yeah.
but it's not affecting them like we see or are afraid of.
No,
going
they're
to affect them.
happy because their darker side is given voice.
Get like.
Yeah.
They
Well, he
feel
takes
that
the
way.
flak.
It's
Well,
not-
but
He takes
yeah,
the
but
flack. That's why he's their hero, right? They go, "Oh,
Yes,
look, that's exactly
right.
what I would say.
Exactly.
Look at him, tough
And
guy."
there it is.
Yes,
But
right.
there it is. So now we're at war with our the darker side of our moral compass, and that's what we're going to be fighting forever.
But don't you think we've been sliding that way a long time?
Yes.
We have been
Yeah,
sliding that
since
way.
World War II.
We have.
We allowed
yeah,
all those
well,
Nazis into the country.
even before that. Because think about it. What was one of the things Trump's father taught him
Oh, yeah.
was World War I. Remember, this country didn't want to fight anybody. It's like, you know what? Outside the U.S. is not our business, because we're all about us here. Forget everybody else. They didn't understand that at some point we will become a global country. They didn't, and the people that did realize
That's
that,
when they made the national anthem.
they
That's
didn't,
when
they didn't
changed-
wanna have
That's
it.
when they changed the wording
Yeah.
to the pledge to
But
God.
they were white males.
That, right, yeah,
They were white males. I mean,
That's the
don't lose
people-
sight of that.
well, the white males were driving the ship, so,
Yes, exactly, right.
yeah.
Kurt, go ahead. What do you say?
Anyway, they let a lot of Nazis in for the rocket program.
Yes.
We all know that,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
We all, and that, it began there. That's what's in the movie Nuremberg.
Nuremberg, yeah.
Yeah, and you're gonna see that at the very end, the psychiatrist.
A lot of
You
the
know, they
physicians
took-
that were working on eugenics
Yeah.
were brought here to the US.
There's a lot of fascists.
We had
in
our
most
own
countries.
eugenics program.
There's a lot.
There was
A lot of them don't see anything
downstate-
wrong
in the 20s,
with
yeah.
Downstate Medical Center in
Yeah,
Long Island was a
exactly.
big place
Yeah.
where
Well,
a lot of them
they took-
relocated.
Right,
They
I've
took
seen
all
the
the
pictures.
information,
It was in
that's-
Brooklyn at the time.
all the information mangled up, composed and created for testing to save pilots at sea. All the testing he did on the Holocaust survivors were documented,
Yeah.
and they thought, oh wow, well, this is information we can use.
Yeah.
For as nasty and diabolical as it was, oh, well, since he found out about it, I guess we don't have to do it. We'll just use this information. We now know how long a body can be sustained in salt water. We know what we can do to the human body before it breaks. In no way is this good, but we used it.
I have mentioned before, and I recommend a book by an author by the name of Raoul Hilberg, wrote one of the early Holocaust books, early being late 50s, early 60s. The title itself tells a great deal. The title is Victims, Perpetrators, and Bystanders. And so the people Joe Gals with, and the people in our neighborhood who stand by and this is, oh, this is fine, this behavior is okay, this is, I think, the bystanders, according to Raoul Hilberg, and I think it's present here. So I understand the pathology, I believe, maybe of Trump and his leadership. What I don't understand is, why did people vote for him? And what happened to their moral compass? And will that come into play at next November's election, next August election, November election, and in 2028, will that be an issue?
I think another scary thing is people are buying into the idea that 5 or 6 or 10 people with enough wealth and power know how to run the country better than anybody here.
I don't think they're aware of
Yeah,
it.
we're worthless, and so if you look at Palantir and Thiel and all these people and Zuckerberg and.
I think they're not.
The corruption.
I don't think they're aware of it. I think that they're lazy. They didn't do the research. I mean, Steve had a guy at work, he just can't speak with him anymore, my husband. And the guy had the audacity yesterday to say, well, if I didn't know he was gonna do all this stuff. And I was lit up last night, like lit up, like, what do you mean you didn't know? How dare he say that? He said every single thing that he was going to do and he's done it.
Yep.
So, I think that they're just lazy. I don't think they realize that there's a 1% out there that believes those people, that dark MAGA that put Vance in place. I don't think that they're even aware that there's this
They never
group
heard the prayer.
of the technology people that believe that they're entitled to run it. Heather Cox Richardson, I'm so sorry, the other day, last week sometime, she started talking back in history, particularly she was highlighting 1880 to 1890, when in 1880, the elite Southerners, not the Southerners that enslaved 1 or 2 people, the ones that had like gangs, okay?
Yes.
The elite, rich Southerners that were running everything before the Civil War, right? In the South anyway. How in the 1880s or 70s, their big push was, well, we can't let, black men have the vote because they're poor and they're uneducated. You know what I mean? They were afraid of what that would mean, right, to them. Okay. So therefore, now, that of course comes on the tails of they were not allowed to be educated, okay? So it wasn't very far from the truth, but her point was this was their political philosophy, but because they indoctrinated and raised a whole generation of kids, when they grew up, it wasn't just, in like 1880, it wasn't just their philosophy, it was their belief. And what started happening in 1880 were lynchings. They believed that they were smarter than, entitled,
Yeah.
better than, and could do all of this. And I don't know that the whole collective of the American conscious is aware that there is this group of people that really does truly believe. I think if more people were aware of that, I believe in my heart as an American that they would fight it, because I believe in my heart that Americans are pretty good people. And I think that these horrible Americans around us, they tend to get a lot of attention. Sorry, just
No, I hope
love Heather
I hope your
Cox
optimism about American people is infectious. I mean,
Teach your children well.
Yeah.
We sang that song in the 60s.
Yeah.
with a good message.
But we knew that.
And this thing about
The
this,
poison is.
And you also had.
Comes from
I don't know if
You
it's
have
a
to be
slippery
taught to
slipper,
hate.
if it's just,
It's also from the
if this
same.
evil and good has just always been kind of like the pendulum and the ebb and flow of the world, civilization, but particularly the United States, you know?
But to what Ken was talking about, how do you get morality back?
Right,
I mean, again, look at the institutions in the United States.
right.
That have abandoned, in my opinion, the high road for quite a while.
Well, back to.
So who do you look to? Who do you look to bring morality back? In my opinion, it sure as hell ain't the church, right? Because they're complicit in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not the Congress, it's not the bankers,
I
it's
think
not.
it's got to affect me.
Joe, is the
Who
question,
do
can
you look to?
we bring morality back, or is the question, can we stop fighting for morality?
Listen, you take enough
Can we
people's
stop
health
fighting
care.
for morality? We're in effect bystanders.
You take enough people's health care away, you take away, all of these social programs that everybody, when Trump was saying, oh, these are my policies, thinking that's a good thing because they thought if I'm giving it to the poor people, I'm not getting it myself. Now they're realizing, guess what? I am getting it myself, and he's messing with my stuff. And back to your point about how do people vote? Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people vote for me.
But where that fries my brain, okay, is that has nothing to do with morality.
No.
That's money.
That's greed.
By the way,
Right?
that's
Taking away my goods and
immoral.
services. That has nothing to do with morality.
I think it has everything to do with morality. That money is more important than people.
Yes, right.
Right, what we said. That's so it's immoral.
It kind of.
It all starts with us, and I believe in capitalism, true capitalism, but we have a lot of crony capitalism. And what I mean, it starts with us. I'm willing to shop down towards Daytona at Costco, especially with Costco taking a stand
Yeah.
and suing because,
Over tariffs.
and they want their money back. And now all of a sudden, now other corporations are gonna tag along, but they didn't take the first bite. But Costco has proved that I like shopping at Costco's because they're paid well, their benefits are well, okay? They're not like the Walmarts where they are welfare companies. And unfortunately, those people don't get enough money and they have to go on low-income healthcare. And that, it starts with us. And I said to my wife, I don't care. Well, we're gonna drive a half hour. I'm not gonna go up 100, shop at that center there, the new one.
Right.
They don't pay well. It's dirty. It's already dirty. I mean, it just opened and it's filthy in there. And you compare them both, and that's what I'll do. And we have to, just like, this young lady's protesting, shop local. We gotta stop shopping local, because we're losing the mom and pops,
Yeah. By the way, so you'll notice on, and then we'll go to Ken, but you'll notice on the case before the Supreme Court, the arguments about the tariffs. Amy Coney Barrett was saying, it's complicated, how will people pay, and so on. not the
No.
question of whether it's just,
Right.
right, or lawful. It's like, oh, it's complicated, it'll be difficult to do, and so on. I believe that's the precursor to immorality.
Yeah,
But
right.
anyway, Ken.
Both of you are right. It does start with the individual, and I support and believe in capitalism with controls, because capitalism run amok will destroy any civilization. But it's different when you're the worker on the floor to when you're the CEO of the corporation. Because as a worker on the floor, you come in with your moral, I gotta give them a good 8 hours a day, I give them the best I can do, and I know, because he's just like me, that after I give them so many years of my life, they're gonna take care of me.
Yeah.
That used to be
True. Yeah.
the norm. Now, that guy that started on the floor who's the CEO, his new problem is, well, I got 1,000 people on there. And I've got to get those 1,000 people paid. I got to keep them happy. But I just don't own the company anymore. I'm answering to a board of people that's saying, I don't care about that guy being sick, or if the freight fell on him and killed him. You're costing me pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
Now, that's when your morals and ethics have to kick in. Or are you going to say, well, you're going to have to understand, my job is to produce something for you to get paid, but also I have to make sure that guy that gave his life to produce what you want to make money off of is justly compensated. And I think at some point that guy makes a conscious decision that, okay, is that life worth more than money?
Yeah.
Because a lot of what's going on, the core base of what's happening in our society, people are making decisions based on money. And it's sad.
And not when they need, that's what billionaires just don't have enough. They have
Yeah.
to get more and so on. And so there are people around this table who have what Mark Zuckerberg does not have. You have enough.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg
I'm not
will
gonna
never,
get,
will
I'm
never
not
have
gonna
enough.
get into
Will
it
never
here,
have enough.
but if you go
It's kind
down-
of creepy though.
If you go to the thing tonight, I'll
Social
give you 6
media.
reasons.
Why I'm wrong?
No, I'll give you 6 examples of the real world and the way things happen.
I would love to hear that.
Is social media though going
That's
to
all I'm saying.
exacerbate that,
Yeah.
like the way that we're already so disconnected?
Yeah.
A lot of people just go on and all they want to do is say and not listen because they don't have to, nor do they have to choose their words wisely. The whole in-person connection is being stripped away and lost at a rapid rate.
Well,
It's creepy.
That's why it's so important that we sit around the table and talk to one another, and we can talk to one another, and perhaps we should work on widening that circle as well. But I thank you for all your input, and go ahead, Al, go.
The one thing on
Pass
this,
time.
very, very directly, the thing that I think, the way to approach this when you speak to one of our adversaries, I think what has happened is, I'm sure what has happened is that the Republicans, I'm sorry, you go back to Curt's rule book for authoritarianism, okay? And the authoritarianism demands that you have an enemy. You have to have somebody that's causing all the problems that I can fix. I can get rid of them. I'm the only one. Okay? They're the problem and I can get rid of it. Well,
You're our
Republicans have
retribution. There we go.
the Republicans have very, very successfully portrayed Democrats as open border freaks. All they want is all these unwashed people to do is to come into the country and vote Democrat. They hate America. They burn the flag. They're your enemy. That is where your golf buddies are coming from. That the Democrats are their enemy. And I think when you get to the point where you can have a discussion with one of them, you want to point that out. And you want to point out that the majority of Democrats don't want open borders. Obama deported
More
more.
A million, right? And that you've been sold a bill of goods on the fact that we are the enemy. Now, do we disagree? We absolutely disagree. But we have to get people in Congress, this is where we have to get together with them, is that we have to get people in Congress that can cross the aisle and do something for us. Because right now, we don't have that. We don't have a government that's functioning for us. And as long as you are convinced, and my side is convinced that you're the enemy, and all we have to do is fight against you, we're lost. That's the bridge that we have to try and cross. That we're not the enemy, that we disagree, and we disagree on some important stuff.
Yeah.
We also agree on some important stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's the other side of it, that you have to attack.
There's a lot more to say.
Oh, God.
Pause right there, and we'll pick it up next week. Come and join us again, and we'll have yet another episode of Conversations in American Democracy. To thank all of you for your important contributions. I need to thank the Rotondo family and Suncoast Media for making this all possible. You can actually Google Suncoast Media or you have to certain other media services. It will take you to the YouTube channel that includes our Ponderings for Palm Coast as well as this. Leave a comment, urge others to take a look at it. We'd like to build up that audience. And thank you. We'll do it again next week.
When was the last time that you
Thank you.
remember
Is that ending? Now we can talk.
Are we gonna be here?
fervent
We'll be here
bipartisanship
next
at
week.
the highest level?